Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for a panel about NFT utility. All the people up here are very passionate about NFT utility, including myself. I'll go ahead and briefly at least introduce these fine people here. We have Lindsey, we have Lisa, and Andrew, but I'll let them do their introductions so we can get right into the panel. So go ahead and start, Lindsey.
Hi, my name is Lindsey. I'm a technologist and futurist. Spent most of my career building and growing hyper-growth startups, and then spent 2 years at Anheuser-Busch InBev as the global head of technology and innovation, where I launched Stella into the metaverse with Zedrun, a crypto horse racing game. Now building a business with Lisa Sterbakov and some others exploring the intersection of Web3 and entertainment.
Hi, I'm Lisa Sterbakov. Oh my gosh, I have no voice. I am Mila Kunis's producing partner. We've been producing traditional film and television for years, and then we jumped into the space last year, almost a year ago, with Stoner Cats. And then we doubled down with a show called The Gimmicks, which you can probably see around here someplace. We poached Lindsey to come in and help run our tech side, and we've got a bunch of other fun stuff coming.
Hi everyone, I'm Andrew Schiffman. I'm the VP of Business Development at Yellowheart. We are a NFT ticketing and music marketplace. We deal with community tokens, music as NFTs. We've been building since 2017. And I've been spending my career for the last 20 years helping artists really connect with their fan base and look for new opportunities. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And I am the moderator for this panel. My name is Ty, and I go as Titan Inc. on Twitter. I'm pretty active there if you ever want to follow me. I represent NFTY Labs as a co-founder, and essentially what we do is build NFT technology on a very high level. So we're going to go ahead and get into some questions for these fine folks, though. The first is really a simple one. What is sort of like the current state of NFT utility in the market? And what are some like big trends that are happening right now? So I'll let you all three sort of answer, and we can keep this relatively quick so we can get to questions for about 10 minutes at the end.
Sure, so I think where we are right now is incredibly early. I think what you're starting to see are really simple examples of things like ticketing, and the future of NFTs is really any place that there's a contract. Or a relationship to be had. I think you're starting to see NFTs take a role there.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly am playing a lot in the space of NFTs as access to a community, and that's super exciting. But I'm also very excited for the possibility of, if we're talking about contracts, about real world contracts being tied to NFTs so they're transferable with the sale of an asset. So that's something that I'm super excited to see. But I mean, obviously, as an access token, as utility, it's everything.
Yeah, everything they said, but we at Yellowheart really look at NFTs as we've moved beyond the JPEG, right? So utility as real life experiences with us doing ticketing. It's the things that fans can relate to, backstage meet and greets, VIP experiences, upgrades, physical merch tied to digital merch. So definitely thinking about how fans can relate to utility, which is a really good way to bridge Web 2 to Web 3.
Thank you. And we talk about utility, and I think utility is obviously a buzzword at this point. And that's fine. We have a lot of buzzwords, like metaverse, utility, et cetera, et cetera. But what does it really mean to all of you? What is utility, and what's the importance of it for NFTs? What is the importance to you?
I think utility is something that needs to be baked in a little bit from day one, and I love what Lisa's talking about around giving access to a community. So I think utility will be really different and is really different depending on the kind of community that you're trying to build and the kind of access point you're trying to give. I think it gets really interesting where you think about which I think we'll talk about in a little bit later, but the utility of art just for art's sake. Is there utility there? But I think we'll start to see the concept of utility expand as NFTs become more embedded into our everyday lives and different access points, the same way that you would see, frankly, in reality right now.
Yeah, and I really just think about it as a tool for digital ownership and whatever that looks like. And I feel like my kids understand digital ownership. They play video games all the time. They understand what it's like to buy something inside a video game. And the idea that you could actually truly own a piece of something that's digital, buy, sell, trade that thing, that's actually super exciting to me. So like the future of gaming, super exciting with NFTs. I think it just absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And, as I mentioned before, we've moved past the JPEG. So me owning an NFT, how can I use that, right? So it's becoming part of this exclusive community, and what are the perks that I can get from being part of this community? Especially with NFT tickets, our tickets really come to life past the scanning of a barcode, which nowadays you kind of scan in and that's it. So what utility can you continue as, methods of, engagement with your newly invested community?
Very nice. This question is sort of a two-part question. The first is, do NFTs have utility by default? So you can go any which direction you want with that, whether it's the art or, for PFP NFTs, a pseudonymous identity. And then the second part of that question is, do you absolutely need to have utility for your NFTs or not? Some would argue that NFTs by themselves, with the art, the music, the videos, works completely fine. You don't need to add anything to it. So it's a two-part question. Run it.
Yeah, I think that, ownership, if you think of ownership as a utility, that's going to be baked into every NFT. So I think it really depends on how you think about utility. I do think that art is valuable personally for art's sake. So I don't think that an artist needs to plan a 12-month, 24-month roadmap for how they're going to offer utility to a community. I think that takes away from what an artist is really good at, which is just providing beautiful things that we reflect on and enjoy and own and hold. So for me, the utility of an NFT can be as basic as just the fact that you can own it and know that you own it and have that thing. But for, in broader terms, I think that we need to be thinking about the collectability of those things. I think one of the biggest things I talk to folks about is just because you can launch or do an NFT doesn't mean you should. There's a lot of stuff that I kind of question, as somebody who's collected literally everything, did we really need that thing? And what makes it collectible? What makes it valuable? What gives it utility? And I think that those are the questions that creators need to be asking themselves and brands as well before they launch an NFT. Is like, what's the inherent value? So, are you going to unlock a space? Are you going to unlock a world, a community, a game? Or is it just going to be ownership? And then if it's ownership, what's the value of that? Or what's the collectability of that? So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that every NFT has some utility, even if it's just looking at a picture that moves you. That is a utility to me, to be moved by something.
Yes, exactly. I think, the way that you need to look at launching an NFT drop, you really need to look at the long-term roadmap and how can you provide value to people that you want to buy your NFTs. And again, these perks are methods of utility. So it could be anything, but there needs to be some engagement with, you and your community.
Very nice. The thing I want to talk about next is a big topic that circulates constantly on the news, which is the metaverse and how NFTs can tie into the metaverse. I think you guys have some really good thoughts about that, so go ahead.
Do we want to go the opposite way?
Yep.
Yeah,
Change things up, all right?
Yeah, I feel like I'm lobbing all the first balls.
But then I'm still in the middle.
No, I think the metaverse is definitely super early and something that us at Yellowheart are really interested in and building, hopefully coming out the end of this month, where it's just another place for fans and a community to hang out, right? It's this virtual Discord experience. So all of the NFTs that we are going to be selling, whether it's music or tickets, you will be able to access an element of a metaverse, whether it's a pre-hangout or an artist is doing a listening party. So it's just a way to, create a global event and have it gated by, owning this NFT gives you, access. So I think we are super early, but it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So it's important to really dive in and see how you can fit into this space.
that to you.
Yeah, look, I think the metaverse for me is a perfect place for NFTs because they unlock ownership of goods. And the metaverse, if we think that the metaverse will parallel reality or does parallel reality, and we already see this in video games, in virtual worlds, and 3D spaces, you have the opportunity to actually own all of that, which is actually the really novel concept that an NFT provides. We're consumers, whether we like it or not, we're consumers, and in reality, we own stuff. And so really what an NFT is going to do in a metaverse is just unlock the ability to own all of these parts of these digital worlds that are emerging in these 3D spaces.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, I think it's super exciting to think of the thing that you get to see in your wallet, to get to see it come to life. I think that's just an exciting thing and a fun thing as a human being to be able to, like, as we can each transform, move, and pull our NFTs and bring them into the metaverse. I think that's just exciting. But it's the same thing. Once again, I think every single video game that we play is a little element of a metaverse. And when we can make our metaverses look as good as these kind of centralized metaverses, I think when it looks as good as World of Warcraft, I'm very excited.
That'll be the day.
Yep.
So I want to touch on some topics that are specific to each of our panelists here. The first one is for Andrew. This is more about NFTs as tickets. What is the most powerful aspect that NFTs really brings to the table for ticketing? And if you want to expand beyond that, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the ticketing model right now is you have a barcode, you can print it on a piece of paper, you have an app. Once you scan in at a venue, that barcode's done. So we provide full NFT experience where we can host programmable content, video and audio, straight in the Yellowheart wallet. So to be able to still continue engagement through the people that have that ticket, perhaps the venue or the artist wants to airdrop a full concert, a couple days later, that is only exclusive to the people who have that ticket. So, we've done events where we've airdropped food and bev vouchers and really created an ongoing experience beyond that actual event. So I think, again, it really helps build fan engagement, and you can just keep rewarding them after a venue. Plus, obviously NFT tickets could be highly collectible and limited, but again, the utility that really is in an NFT ticket is just super powerful. And stay tuned for more from Yellowheart.
Glad to hear it. And actually, talking about engagement, I want to go ahead and touch on, we had a conversation earlier about on-chain engagement that I think Lisa and Lindsey could touch on. So I'll let you guys discuss, what are some ways NFTs can be used for on-chain engagement, and what does that really mean?
Yeah, so we have a project called The Gimmicks, which is on Solana. And the idea was, we learned a bunch of things from Stoner Cats. One, that people wanted content faster. And two, is they really wanted to be creatively engaged in the project. So with each gimmick, with your NFT, you log into our site with your wallet, and you can you connect your wallet. You don't log in. You connect your wallet, and you can go in and create a Wikipedia page for your character. So full backstory, full engagement with other community members on story, and we're actually putting in those people into our shows. We're making a full separate episode of at least one of our community members, but already we've got 4 or 5 community members who have taken place in the show. Additionally, we release an episode every Friday. On Friday, when you vote, so you get to vote on what are we going to do next week. There'll be 5 questions, and we really do make an episode of television. It's animation every single week. So when you vote, you get something put back in your wallet called a dick punch. It is for a diverse, inclusive community. We're not crude, guys. And it's basically a fungible token that is only for community purposes. So you get one for every vote that you make, and then you can take that dick punch, go to our website, and punch your community members. Say you like what they wrote in Discord even. Say you like what they wrote on their Wikipedia page. You can send the dick punches and be like, it's basically like a Facebook poke, but lower and harder. And then now what we have this really measurable engagement of what people are liking or not liking with the project. So far, we launched 10,000 gimmicks, so there's about 5,000 community members. Those 5,000 people have dick punched 700,000 times. They fucking love it. Additionally now, we just added this week, when you send your dick punch, you can put a message on there. So now that message lives on the blockchain forever, so it's on SoulScan, you can see it. and we scrape that information, and it's on a feed on our website. So you can basically see a feed of what community members are saying to each other on our website via Dick Punch. It's just been, I mean, and we do, like Lindsey and I talk about this a lot. It's going to feel crude and ridiculous later. It's going to feel like the Facebook poke, which seems silly, but right now it's so fun, and it's a fun experiment to see what people are enjoying. So we launched the gimmicks for free. The whole point is that it's only for fun. It's not a speculative sort of asset. It's just come in, have fun, engage, tell stories. And it's been
Dick punches.
And Dick punches.
Dick punch each other.
We get Mila to say Dick punch. We get our lawyers to say Dick punch a lot.
Yeah.
Lawyers
How are the internal meetings when you guys have to like repeat like Dick Punch like over and over again? Like do you guys get anything done?
We're almost finished laughing with it, I think, but not yet. And I think, like Lisa's point, the most fun conversations are the ones we have with the lawyers, where they're very serious, and they're in New York, and they're like, they have suits and ties, and they're at their office, and we're like, yo, can we do this with the Dick Punch? Like, we've investigated the Dick Punch, and they're like choking on it, trying to say it. We love that. Like, I think those are the best meetings.
But also, we all take everything too seriously, and we need some levity. We actually launched very close to, as you probably know, Mila raised about $30 million, actually now more than that, for Ukraine. And we considered not launching. But we actually feel like the utility of fun is important in our very, very heavy, dark lives.
Very good, very good. I actually have one more question before we open up to the audience for questions, and that is, what is the most exciting utility being built right now? Maybe it's not out yet. Maybe it's just sort of being in the early stages. What is the coolest utility that you guys see right now? And what could you tell the audience about utility that they may not know already?
Do you want to go first? No.
Stumped you.
Yeah, look, I'm a huge sports fan, so anything that gets me closer to at a moment in sport is something that I'm kind of going to show up for. And so I think we're just starting to see some really early use cases where I can demonstrate my super fandom for an athlete or athletics or sport or whatever. And I'm kind of excited to see about where that goes, where you can kind of represent who you are on chain and then sort of be rewarded for those moments and find other people just like you who are excited about them too.
Yeah, all of the things I'm excited about are in regard to gaming. I played so much Magic the Gathering, and that, being able to physically own my cards and then sell them for a lot of money, that's actually very, very exciting to me that we can now finally do that in a digital format, which we haven't been able to do for years. And also, I want Broadway NFT ticketing. I want to be able to forever have my playbills. That stuff's stuff that we collect. I want to be able to collect it.
We're working on
Yeah, get on that.
We are. I think I'm just really excited about ways that we can bring the fan closer to the artist, and I think integrating metaverse and gating it can really just elevate an experience. So luckily, Yellowheart's working on all of the above, so I'm excited.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys for answering all of those questions. Now, if the audience has any questions, I think you can just raise your hand and they'll bring the mic around to you. So.
Hey guys, great discussion so far. Appreciate it. What each of you, in your opinion, what is maybe the top 1, 2, 3 obstacles that are preventing mainstream adoption for NFT utility? Thanks.
I mean, this is all we talk about because we really talk about making products for normies. We're normies. I think, and it's funny, I was actually talking to my brother yesterday. Avid gamer, game designer, does not get NFTs. And it was just a matter of, his perception is they're a cash grab. His perception is that they're super bad for the environment. And so I think so much of it is education. But then also it's building things that feel like real application for somebody's life. And so we have real world things that we do. We consume narrative content. We play games. We go to shows. We do these real things. And so it's this question for me is how do NFTs make that one step better? And when we do that over and over and over again, slowly people are going to see, and I think it's going to make a huge difference. But I think a big obstacle is building something people want and then explaining to them how it's actually improving on their other experiences.
Yeah, I would add on to that that the technologies right now are just really hard. So that's a huge hurdle. Like trying to explain to somebody how they buy cryptocurrency, which they feel risky about or weird about maybe for the first time. So they have to set up a Coinbase account or whatever the exchange is. Then you got to get that currency over to a wallet like Phantom or MetaMask or something like that. Then you have to connect it to this. It's just too much. It's too hard for a lot of people. So those technologies are going to get way, way easier, and that's a huge hurdle right now.
And we have to put things in place to protect a consumer from the bad actors. My sister-in-law yesterday was like 50% of things on chain are fraudulent, and that is her absolute perception, and she's not necessarily wrong. So we need to be really, really careful and as an industry, protect ourselves and protect each other.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say education, and, Yellowheart really built a platform for that Web 2 hybrid fan where you don't need a MetaMask, you can pay with credit card, it's an easy sign up, and it's about the language you use, right? You have to know the audience. So maybe we don't use wallet, we use app. Maybe we don't use NFT, we use digital collectible. So I think, we're going to probably get away from NFT and really make things just resonate more to the fan. And, whenever we vet projects, we really dig into the fan base and want to serve them and figure out what the fans want in terms of a drop. It has to be valuable to them.
It's almost like the NFT needs to sort of become like a secondary piece of how it's used. Like you use the NFT as a ticket, you call it a ticket, right? But you can also trade it on secondary markets, and make money off that. Or you can use an in-game asset, that just happens to be an NFT, right? Once we get past sort of like the NFT, the terminology, and it's sort of just like things that people are familiar with, I think that's where it goes next.
Yeah, it has to be in the background. You don't go to a website, and then most normal people don't go to a website and then care whether it's built on AWS or anything else. You just go to the website and do what you wanted to do.
Just use it, easy. Thank you for that question.
So regarding the question of the utility of art for art's sake.
Can you speak up? I can't hear you.
Certainly, sorry. I didn't want to blow out anybody's eardrums. Regarding the utility of art for art's sake, which I agree with, I mean, I like looking at pretty things too. Other than the generic acquisitive drive of humanity, like, I'm looking at all of these NFTs right now. What's the advantage of it being an NFT as opposed to just a JPEG?
The NFT's in the background. Well, you're looking at a gimmick. So if you owned one of those gimmicks, you could come and watch our show. You could dick punch your community. You could write a backstory for your gimmick, or even write your own television show with us, sir. But
no, but I'm talking about like specifically things that are just art. Like it's just a picture and it's an NFT. Okay, cool.
Well,
but why is that? What utility does it have of being an NFT as opposed to just being art?
Well, you own it. That's the difference. It's like if I own an original and it's sitting in my house, I know that. Could I own a print? Sure, I can. But it's meaningful to me to own an original. And that NFT is that.
Okay, so pretty much that general acquisitive drive of humanity then.
It's authenticating and ownership of an asset. Yes, it's that contract that points to this piece of artwork. But yeah, you can obviously right-click, save anything. But, some people really love to own and collect, and perhaps there is some utility and rewards that come with owning that print down the road that only you have for owning it.
And we're also starting to see a lot of really interesting art that couldn't be done any other way. So I think a lot of the stuff we're seeing back here, I wouldn't classify as but there are a lot of interesting artists that are using technology in a way that couldn't have been done 10 years ago, and I think the only way you could possibly own it is digitally. So if you get into the art for art's sake, then the only spot you could own it is if it were on a chain or a digital item.
Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to add on to that, sorry. If you upload a JPEG on the internet and you sort of have people download it, it gets sort of obfuscated, it's uploaded somewhere else, et cetera, there's no sort of record to prove the original creator or copywriter of that IP. But when you have an immutable record like an NFT, you have the blockchain that tells you exactly when this asset was created, at what time, where, who owns the contract address that created that NFT, et cetera. So you actually can sort of trace IP ownership, which is very, very important with the internet, especially because as it stands, even in NFTs today, we have derivatives, right? We have all of these different, sort of like copyright claims and IP fraud, et cetera, but at least NFTs helps a little bit with that. So that's what I would say at default. Thank you.
Hello. As a lawyer in the room, first I'll say dick punch.
Yes.
Secondly, we were just talking about IP and copyright, and I'm curious, do you see value in the artist sort of choosing a jurisdiction to govern whatever intellectual property rights is going to apply, or do you think the community should decide that, and where should that power reside?
I think the power absolutely, for me, always, is the power needs to be in the artist's hands first, and then they need to decide what their goal is. And I think that some projects, it makes sense for the artist to retain that IP, and some projects, it makes sense to give it out. On Stoner Cats, we retain the IP because those images were characters from the show. And we needed to own those characters in the show to be able to make the show the way that we needed to make it. On the gimmicks, we gave IP rights because they are not characters in the show, and we license it back if we're going to put it in the show. So I think it's just what is the use, what is the necessity, and it absolutely needs to be determined from the artist first. And they have to understand that there are pros and cons both ways, and that we're going to see some repercussions that are coming down of IP that was given to communities that I don't think that people have really thought out what the long-term repercussions of giving out that IP has been.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to look bad as the owner and original creator because someone owns an IP from a 10,000, drop, and it kind of gives you a bad language. So, but I think it's, again, knowing your fans and, really giving them what they want for that particular drop and asset, whether it's ownership or, just owning the image or, the music.
And when we're talking about real world adoption and we're talking about major companies coming in and doing NFT projects, I can't see most anybody doing, really giving away IP ownership in that.
We have time for one more question, so we get a rapid fire. We got 3 minutes left.
Hi. I think this question's mostly for Andrew, but please the others chime in. So you mentioned the UPC model where you walk up to an event, you scan the UPC and you go in. That's the current model. Now you have the NFT model, but what's scanning? I assume the wallet's on a phone. Are you NFC tapping something to verify that you have the NFC? And how's that technology working if that's what it is? How are you efficiently being as quick for entry as the UPC scan current method is?
We have our own wallet with a revolving barcode, so that can be scanned in through any event on an iPhone, iPad, Android device. Instantly recognizes the owner. A lot of the metadata that's in that revolving barcode is, it tells us who owns the asset and a lot about the Yellowheart's public wallet address. So we have all, built-in analytics on the back end. So our scanning system is pretty flawless and instantaneous. We also do fun things like a state change where you can buy an NFT as an image and then it, it morphs into something else, upon scanning. So we have a pretty great system.
Yeah, typically how Web3 ticketing works is you have a QR code representation of your ownership of the assets in your wallet. So you'll have maybe one wallet to represent all of your assets. I own a Pudgy Penguin, for example. So if I want to go to a Pudgy Penguin event, I would need to own that. I can prove the ownership by checking the blockchain, and then the proved ownership is reflected in the QR code that, of course, uses a back end, and you can scan against it to just make sure they actually do, in fact, still own the asset. And then, boom, you're in. So it's pretty cool. I think that pretty much wraps us up. We got 40 seconds left, but that should be it for questions. So thank you all for coming and listening to these amazing panelists.